Well, it's Sunday morning and we're getting ready to go back to Ohio. It's a beautiful day here, a little overcast, but it's still a nice day and the weather's pretty good on both sides of the border. Well, we're going anyway. Really happy with the way the horses trained this weekend in Ontario. Really pleased. Coming back next weekend. The only issue being, as of right now, it's supposed to rain next Saturday here in Ontario. So the babies may train on Friday, next Saturday, sorry. They may train on Friday just without Amy and I, as we plan to train the babies in Ohio on Friday and then get going back here for Ollie's practice. So I ran through, we had quite an extensive grading of the young horses this week between Amy and I, which was a lot of fun. But I do want to talk about the other horses. We get the racehorses. We have the 3-year-olds. I still have to do my opening, but I like to do my opening, if I can, on Sunday morning or Saturday morning. Nice day. Everybody's chipper. So I want to do my opening last. But I am going to do the racehorses. Ollie, will you run in and grab the drinks for Mom and I, honey? Thanks, bud. So we're going to talk about the aged horses. These are horses, obviously, that are 4 years old or older. And yes, we've sold some horses, and we are going to acquire some throughout the spring. I had a great conversation with a couple of our clients about that. You know, predominantly people that like to own race horses. And I said, I know that we're moving some horses out because we're getting some congestion in the classes we have, but we will continue to bring some in as the 3-year-olds start to come back, as the 4-year-olds that have been laid up and brought back begin their racing, whether it be the Poconos or when Philadelphia opens up or any of the major places. Also, you will see movement, you will see horses listed that we want. But mental note for everybody, end of January, middle of January, straight through to at least March 1st. Not a lot of horses up for sale. This is the same thing that happened last year also. So, not a ton of horses up for sale. Why would this lady park right? This guy park right beside me.
It's very hot.
Yeah, I know, it's hot. Why wouldn't they put sleeves on them if they're extra hot? Thanks, buddy. Watch the car. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so a little cautionary note. We need to just put a feather in our cap for next year. So maybe that means we lay up some of our, you know how we like to race our 3-year-olds into their 4-year-old campaigns. But for the horses maybe that are just okay horses, there were horses that we had kept that fit classes well into their 4-year-old season that we were going to retain and keep. Maybe we'll rest those horses next year in November, have them ready for February. So we have horses to race February and March. Because if we work along the same lines, historically speaking, and there's not a lot of horses to acquire, quality horses to acquire, those middle-of-the-road horses, then maybe we should make sure we have some getting ready to go for February and March of 2025. So as we talk, again, I want to start with the 4-year-olds. Brace for landings, getting close. At any point, we can drop the hammer on him and get him ready to go. I would say probably ready to go in the race bike and go a mile in 2:10 anytime this week. I think what you're going to see is at some point, Oak Grove opens up at the end of March. They start racing the 1st of April. We'll probably roll in there the first week of April with some horses, and I suspect, as I said, Race for Landing will be a horse that will be heading down that way. And now again, got to remember, this guy I think he wears flip-flops. The first 2 weeks of Oak Grove, the track was deep as a bugger. So, got to keep that stuff in mind as we head down there also. Collector, I think has been racing great. I think this horse is going to stick with us for quite a while. A lot of upside on this guy, and really, really happy with the way he's been racing. Irish Ray drops way down to the bottom class now for old Granny and Grampy, and hopefully Irish Ray catches a soft crew this week, and we can do some damage with him. Kenobi raced great, trotted 53 and a piece, I think, last night at the Meadowlands. If I'm not mistaken, maybe they went in 53. Either way, it was a muddy night. A hell of a mile for him. So really happy with the way Kenobi has looked and has raced. Spitfire Overseas. Definitely the highlight of the week for the stable.ca. Broke the track record at Miami Valley last night.
Who did?
This week, Spitfire broke the track record in Miami Valley, went 52-3, I think.
That's the track record?
For four, I didn't know there was such a thing as a 4-year-old track record, but there is. Here, Ollie, in case they ask, I'll be right. Yeah, I'll be right. I'll be right in. Away you go.
Bleep, 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 bleep.
Go.
Audience don't need to know that.
So Spitfire Overseas was tremendous last week. Really happy with him. In a good spot again this week. Now we get to see him slug it out with a couple of horses we've recently moved. Carter Michael Dio is in with Spitfire, as is Resolute Bay. So it'll be an interesting race for sure. Stay Special, bit of a scary moment last week. Made a dirty break leaving the gate. I don't like to see that, especially with a horse that's had soundness issues in the past. So you're like, geez, what happened there? They said she was fine after she broke a hobble. One person said hobble hanger, and then when I read the AGCO reports, it said hobble. Either way, broken equipment, I guess. I watched her jog. Dominic and I sat there. Johnny went out and jogged yesterday. We sat there and watched her jog. She looked on the trot, got her ears up, playing. She was sound as a dollar. So certainly wasn't a soundness or a lameness issue, that's for sure. Steel Cowboys heading back to Ontario. Obviously, this guy's not what we. A couple of horses, obviously, not what we wanted them to be, and certainly have not been what we want them to be right now. But his qualifier was a little hard to gauge. Obviously, it wasn't fast. I liked his attitude. I didn't think he was that bumpy in the turns, but he was bumpy in the turns, and I believe that if he needs a bigger track, it's not going to be the Meadowlands. We're not waiting for Indiana, and I think Ontario is probably the place for him to be. So the paths have narrowed, so to speak. If we were forced to race him at Northfield, could we? Yeah, I suppose so. But if the speed is there and we can get him up and moving forward, I think Steel Cowboy should be at Mohawk, and that's exactly where he's going right now. Tactical Mounds continues to train back good. Obviously really happy with this filly, a real high point of 2023 for us. Texong Soprano continues to race good. Had the 7-hole the other day. What are you going to do? I think Scotty did everything he could with this guy. Raced great. Wallop qualified pretty good. Probably going to need a race or two. Both him, those horses I qualified the other day, they're going to have to be driven conservatively for a couple of weeks until we really get a gauge. Training them down on a half-mile track by themselves and putting them into a qualifier where it's pouring rain and muddy and the track isn't good. It is really hard for me to gauge what they are able to do right now. All three horses qualified in hand and well. As the day went on, poor Lover's Play got the worst of it. She's near the end of the qualifying session. It is pouring rain. The track is all chewed up. I don't know how many seconds they gave the track, 2 or 3, but it was terrible. I almost didn't qualify her. Literally almost just said take the harness off her. But we got her qualified, and Wallop was one of them also. I thought he qualified well. But it's hard to gauge, right? Walter's Keepsake. You guys gotta, if you ever get to Ohio, make a point to meet Joey. He's a really nice kid, and I guarantee you he was pissed off last night after the race. But part of learning how to drive is learning how to drive, and we make mistakes. Walter's Keepsake, usually you have horses that are racing when you're a little bit off the gate. They have enough speed to catch the gate, right? You don't really gap off the gate with a 4-year-old, but he doesn't. And that's why I said to Joey, you got to put him right on the gate. But I'm sure Joey had lots of nerves. It may have only been an amateur race to you guys, but to a kid just learning how to drive who's never won his first lifetime start in a pari-mutuel race yet, it's a big deal. And I'm sure he just didn't want him to make a break or make a mistake and thought that he'd just bring him into position, he'd be okay, but can't do it because he can't catch the gate. That's why he doesn't leave that much. He doesn't have a ton of gate speed, that horse. And ended up being off the gate. We ended up catching a bone, luckily, somewhat unluckily for somebody that was placed back. The winner was placed back. I didn't realize till I was talking to Jason. The winner was placed back, so we ended up 5th. But not what you want to see from Walter. Now, Walter can't race in there next week. He's going to miss the Saturday and race on the Wednesday, which is the Nominers 8 condition claimer. The class that Wallop is in this week. We'll see. We'll see how things go. 2 horses for the same class. Greatest Ending's been training great. I didn't get an update. Jason said it was raining pretty good. He was going to get the blood back and train Mounds for all again. If his blood was good, he thought he might have tied up a bit. And Greatest Ending, obviously we don't train him on a bad track, but Jason was going to let him dance if he trained him. He's close, really close. We've been training him free-legged too, and he's been training very, very well. Jason really liked the way he was. Now, it's hard to get super excited because this horse we sunk a ton of money into. He just hasn't panned out yet. But there's no reason saying he can't, right? So hopefully we'll see. We'll see how Great Ascending is moving forward. JK Victory is back jogging now at Northfield Park. Jason and I had a great conversation, and he goes, for a horse that doesn't get around Mohawk and Woodbine, how are we going to train him down here? It's a great question. Great question. We need to train him down on the gallop a little bit. Or he did race. He did race in Northfield and pace 150, 149 apiece, a 3-year-old. This is certainly not his preferred surface as a half-mile track. So we'll train him down best we can. There won't be any problems there. For me, when we get horses that struggle a little bit in the turns, if in fact he does struggle. This is an older horse now. That was as a 3-year-old. He's raced as a 4-year-old. Now he's coming out as a 5-year-old. As we start to train him down, if there's any struggles, we can just gallop them to put the muscle into them. I generally like doing that anyway. It keeps the horses that hit themselves and interfere, keeps them away from themselves, lets them train in a stress-free way. So a lot of the times we will train some of the horses down on the gallop from time to time. Looks like Money qualified great. James said the horse, both him and Yo Mister, were fantastic. Harry said, what do you think about the series coming up? I said, pretty simple. Just take him over to Mohawk, train him a stiff mile on Wednesday, and race him Monday. It didn't matter if James qualified him in 51. He's gonna run him up the wood. So what's the difference? So James is probably gonna race Yo Mister easy, and we are in a little bit of a sticky situation with looks like Money. Is the Open gonna fill? Right? He doesn't fit the New Holland Series. Is the Open gonna fill? I don't know. I don't know if it is or it isn't. So we'll see. But as of right now, we've Locatelli and Yo Mister for the New Holland Series, and looks like Money getting ranked. I said to Harry, if they race the Open next week, or will they race it at some point and get a race into him, and he has a very light schedule heading into the latter part of spring, I don't think anybody's going to complain. We have this guy slated for Open races in Ontario. I would say the Earl Rowe, if the track is suitable, at Georgian Downs, Canadian Trotting Classic, and then if we like how his summer has turned out, we have paid him into the Charlie Hill in Southern Ohio. The reason we paid him into the Charlie Hill would be close to the conclusion of his season, and we can maybe give him some time in Kentucky, is what I was thinking. So by Kentucky, I just mean turned out in the field in Kentucky. As we get this guy's injury under control, the one thing I've noticed about suspensories, we had them with Yes, never bothered him again, but you have to give them the time, and then you have to let them set, and then give them another dose of time after their season that year, right? And that's what we did with Yes. It worked out well, and a couple of other horses. Really tricky when it comes to those injuries, especially with the power and speed of a horse like Looks Like Money. I'm certainly not saying that he's going to re-injure it. It doesn't appear that he is. It appears that it was a fluke, kind of a freak accident. I believe that's what I was trying to say at the same time. A freak accident that caused the injury. So it wasn't something that was festering that finally just blew apart. That is my take on it, because there hasn't been any issues with it since we trained him back. There hasn't been any aggravations, his heat his lag had a little bit of heat in it today. There's been none of that. So I believe it is manageable, but we have to behave. We have to do what's right to the horse, and having a softer spring on a softer track is probably a good idea. And it allows us to set him up speed-wise and cardio-wise for a bit of a stronger summer, and then we can hit those 2 or 3 stake races, turn them out, and then aim for a big 6-year-old season. That's my plan. Anyway, it looks like Money. Renegade Gypsy continues to race good in Ohio, second again last week, I believe. Serious Dragon, I watched him train yesterday in 225, so he's getting closer to the track and looked very good in training. Bobby was happy with him. Bobby Cool trained him for Harry. 3-Point Blue Chip, a lot of people saying, where is he? What's he doing? So he was terrible his last start, and they had done an EPM test on him, which is pretty expensive, and found that it was a high number, which wasn't shocking. We've been treating him since he was 2, but they wanted to really hit him aggressively, and I believe they planned to race him last week or this week, and it didn't turn out. So I didn't get the same update. I didn't get an update yet from Julie or Andy or Tom in regards to 3-Point, but I believe it's just a matter of getting him back to a situation where they're comfortable with him as far as his mobility. And because for those of you that are horsemen out there, you know how when EPM sets in, hits them hard sometimes, they can look terrible. I know Dominic was telling me yesterday, widespread panic. He was okay when they were training him back. And I had mentioned a couple of times if he didn't get better, I was taking him to Ohio. And Dominic hit him 2 or 3 times with a strong dose of EPM medication. He said, Anthony, absolutely, totally different horse the other day when I trained him. He was perfect. Well, that's great. And it's hard. A lot of people say, have you treated them for, have you tested them? Have you tested them? We never test them for EPM. EPM is this massive umbrella, as you can imagine, right? It was like when COVID was here, right? Everybody that was sick had COVID. I got COVID. Well, you do or you don't. Now, it's easy to test for it. It's harder to test for EPM. But it's easy just to go ahead and treat them, right? Treat them as if they have it. If you see a favorable response, then everybody says, oh, he had EPM. Oh, just could have been a million things. That medication is, from my standpoint, a pretty big umbrella. So it's a be all and catch all when it comes to that type of the type of neurological issue. There could be a number of things it actually is, and there could be a number of things that this medication is actually treating, and we give those 3 letters. We use those 3 letters as this massive umbrella. Oh, he had EPM. Oh, did he? Okay. I don't know, but all I can tell you is that when we have a horse that is acting a little odd, maybe stumbling a little bit more, Resolve Indeed stumbles a lot, so we treat her, and we'll continue to treat her. Or just can't catch their gait. A trotter like widespread panic can't catch their gait, and then you treat them with EPM medication, TD paste, totozerol and diclozerol mix compounded, or Marquis or Baycox or any of those. When we treat the horses and they get better, it's easy to just say, well, he must have had EPM, and I don't know if that's the case, and I don't care, to be honest. At the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding. So if you want to call it EPM, great. The horse was better when we treated the horse, so that's all that matters. Now, maybe that doesn't make any sense to you, but that is where they are probably with 3 Point Blue Chip. They've been aggressively treating him for EPM. He's likely getting better, and they likely came to the point where they said, hey, he's just not yet. He's not quite there. Just give him another week. And I would say, and again, I apologize. I don't mean to read into it too much, but I would assume that's where they're at with 3 Point Blue Chip. Unbeatable Kemp was great the other day. I'd said to Tim, around the track, I knew he wasn't super comfortable. It wasn't a great day for him, but he raced great just because of the way I drove him and knowing the horse, right? We all saw the week before he fooled Ronnie and he put him on the front, but that horse has done that to everybody. Done it to James, done it to Sylvain. Everybody that's ever driven him has tried him there. Somebody said, well, you won with him on the front. He was in a maiden. Go easy. He was in a maiden when he was young, and I won with him on the front. But once in a while, when he's razor sharp and you don't get to use him, you only need to use him for 1/8 of a mile. Yeah, he's okay in the front. But that's his race. Covered up, chasing horses that he's going to run down. And he's actually a fun horse to drive when he's doing that because that's how he likes to race. And he races very well like that. But it wasn't a great day for him soundness-wise. Tim had done some work on him, I think the day after him in the vet. And I think I told him just to give him a week off. I believe that's the plan. Now, I'll leave it up. That's up to Tim. But I suspect we'll probably give that guy a week off, which might actually work now that I say it out loud. Walter's Keepsake could move into that Nalmers 10, although he fits an Nalmers 8, very similar class. And I think that Walter's Keepsake could fit into that Nalmers 10 pretty easy. He's going to have to head there anyway at some point. So maybe I'll talk to Tim. Again, glad I talked it out. Yo Mr. qualified great, as I said. I think this horse is a really, really nice horse. We're going to have a lot of fun with him in his 5-year-old season now, I believe. Locatelli has been racing good. He's going into the New Holland Series sharp. A lot of those horses in the Open don't fit the Open anymore. So it's going to be a better bunch for Locatelli and Yo Mister than having to chase down. I don't think the Amigo Vola horse has it, or doesn't fit it, or any of the better horses that are out there. So Locatelli, there's going to be some. The high horse, the Sebastian horse, will fit it for sure. So it's not a cakewalk, but Yo Mister's no slouch either, and it's him and Locatelli is neither. It's him and Locatelli go into this series. They'll be horses to watch. No free lunch. I wish I had a better update for everybody. He did re-aggravate that suspensory left front. To the extent I don't know, I'm waiting to hear from Dr. Carter. We did send him back down for Dr. Carter to treat him in southern Ohio, where he'll likely stay. So I wish I had a better update. He did pace 53 twice, so it's not like, and he wasn't crippled or anything, but it did get re-aggravated to the extent I don't know just yet. Stay close. Stay close. Flat his last two. Two starts ago, he tied up. The other day, it was a little flat again. I'd said to Tim, he's going to drop some money off. We did actually send him to the farm just for a few days, just to chill out and relax. And if he's a little flat in his next start, which will unfortunately be the Open again, then we'll use that to get some money off his card again, race him conservatively, and then he'll go to the farm, I think, for 3 weeks or so. He's earned it. Although he didn't make six figures on the right side of his program, he had a big year and a huge summer and fall, and I think that he's a nice horse. He's, for a horse, he is 7 now, but only raced very, very lightly as a 2-year-old. Not at all, I think, at 3 and 4. So not a lot of starts, not a lot of engine miles, as they say, for Stay Close, and there's lots of racing left in this big guy. Kings County is getting a little bit better, a little hiccup shoeing wise, and it's tough sometimes, when you have such a history with a horse. I'm supposed to run this drink back to Amy. Forgot. When you have such a history with a horse, you drift into that lane, right? How did I deal with Kings County before? What did I do with Kings County before? The issue with Kings County is he's not the same Kings County. That's not to say he can't make it back to be a version, maybe a better version or a similar version to himself, but he's not the same horse right now. And I think he made that second break, and then Stacy made some shoeing changes, to Kings County. He didn't get in at the Meadows, so we opted to race him Monday at Miami Valley. He will be coming up to the Meadows, I believe, shortly thereafter, where I think we can race him almost full time, especially now that Stay Close is heading to the field for a bit. It'll be a good fit for him and a good fit for us, I think, moving forward. So we'll see how he races on Monday. White Tiger. I was in the doghouse for a couple of days. We sold White Tiger. I told everybody we have 4 open horses here. I wasn't in a huge hurry to sell any of them, but if the right dollar amount, the right offer came around, we would. Obviously, it hit home because he was the longest standing equine member of the stable, and we may never have a horse that stays with us for 7 years again. It'd be nice if we did. That man's a good horse. But White Tiger meant a lot to this family, and as you know, meant a lot to my wife and my kids. But even my children and Amy understand that, we're trying to do something bigger here. And when I look at what we've acquired in 2023 and 2024, 2022 and 2023 in regards to younger horses, the stable itself has turned a corner. And what we have in the barn, I put it to her and everybody, all my partners, quite simply. If we can't replace White Tiger with what's in the barn right now with younger horses, then we have bigger problems in selling White Tiger. I can tell you that. I am going to gamble that the rookies and sophomores under our roof are going to change the stable forever. And I believe there's always going to be a room for a top trotter. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have to be realistic and sensible in the sense that we have, I just told you, we have Kings County going to the Meadows. We have a horse in Southern Ohio. We have 3 horses for the Open right here. That's one too many still. I'm not moving. None of the 3 that are here can go to Yonkers. I'm not that interested in racing at the Poconos or anywhere else with them right now. At the moment, there's always going to be good horses around, right? There will. And if we're going to get offered a seller's price, and at some point down the road be able to pick horses similar to him up at a buyer's price, then it makes the most sense in the world. So White Tiger will be exiting the stable. I know that might be a shock for some of you out there because he's been with us a long time. But much like, I said this quote a number of times this weekend, and I think it fits perfectly. And I was just scrolling through Facebook, and I knew that, obviously Amy was trying to soldier on, so to speak. And I came across a quote, and it was a picture. It was a picture of a coach and a kid. The kid's getting ready to walk into the batter's box or whatever, and he's a young kid. And he said, the coach looks at him and he said, you might be the best player I've ever coached. He said, but I'm going to tell you something. My job is to find a better one, and your job is to make sure I don't. And when I saw it, it was along the lines of that. You get the gist. My job is to continue to move the stable forward. Every minute, every hour, every week, every month, every year that we're in business. And It's not an easy thing to do sometimes, but it's a lot of a responsibility, and it's tough sometimes. And I'm not always going to be right. I think we've come to understand that, but I'm not always going to be wrong either. And when it comes to the horses, when it comes to our barn, I'm always going to try and forwardly place us, and that's the way it is. So that is that. Delicious Stone DK raced once at Yonkers. Then he came up a little sore right hind. There was a bruise in his right hind leg. Looks like he maybe kicked the wall or something. And I'll tell you what, thank God that Megan called, and thank God we talked about it. She scratched the horse, because if she had erased him, he could have tore a suspension for sure. And there's not to say there's not something going on in there, but whatever it is treatable and fixable. Whatever it could have been may not have been. And, it's always good to be around people that take the horses seriously and put them first. Because it could have been very easily for Megan to say, he warmed up out of it, he'll be all right, race him, and then call me on Tuesday and say, Anthony, I just got a 30% tear in his suspensory. And no one would have been wiser about it. But the fact that she took the time to take it all in, process the information, pick up the phone, and talk it out, and just say, okay, he warmed up out of it, he's sound on it now, but there is some swelling in that right hind. I don't like where it's at. I'm a little concerned. Now, rewind that. Raced, right? Now Megan and Scotty were in Florida also at the Dan Patch Awards. So Megan's relying on her staff. She said that they said that he was sound all week. There was no swelling, there's no issue. Well, if he didn't train, right, and there's no swelling and no issue all week, how would he possibly injure himself? He may have kicked the wall. I don't think he's a bit of a renegade in the stall. I don't think so. But at the same time, I don't know. So when it comes to him, we're going to bring him back. Bring him back to Ohio, because truthfully speaking, it may have been the track also, right? Maybe he doesn't get around Yonkers real good. Looked like he did. Either way, it's an unfortunate situation, but again, as long as we put the horses first, things should work out better, and I believe, in this case, a long road back to where we need to be with Delicious Stone DK, but we have him. He's racing. He can chip away, and when he hits his best stride again, that's when we can maybe push him forward again. Patrick the Piranha raced great the other day. Again, continues to race good, and we just have to be conservative with him. I need to drive him like that. You can't go out and drive him like he's going to win in 48-4 when you know he's not. 51 in the end of February, last quarter 27-3 is a good mile. He's a fringe player. Give me the 3-hole. Let me sit third behind those horses, and maybe I'm a closing second to the Burke horse, or maybe I beat him. But, second over behind stalled cover, 3 wide in the last turn where he doesn't like to race from, closing the whole way down the lane. That was a hell of a mile from Patrick the Piranha, and he raced great again. So with that, those are your racehorses. Long-winded I am this week. Still got the 3-year-olds to talk about. I'll be back in just a second.